Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to News Dose. And it seems like we're now in that phase where we're going to start to hear about better results for the PlayStation 5 Pro. I mean, I 100% predicted this ahead of time because it's not that it won't have its positive benefits. It's really just that Sony, for whatever reason, did a terrible job at advertising those perks, and now it's just kind of up to other outlets, mainly being Digital Foundry, to highlight some of the reasons that you might want to consider a purchase. Now, does that mean that it's suddenly worth $700 to $800? I mean, that's a loaded question. We'll get into all of that, and plus we will talk about what's happening and why the PlayStation 5 Pro is starting to look at least slightly more attractive than what it did just 1 month ago when it was first revealed. Now, we'll also talk about a devastating story for PlayStation fans, especially those like me that have a strong connection to the PlayStation 3 generation. Let's just go and get right into things, though, starting off with Ubisoft. We all know that they're in a tight spot right now, that there were reports last week about a potential acquisition between them and Tencent. Well, Ubisoft has now acknowledged that report, and you can see here where they said, Ubisoft has noted recent press speculation regarding potential interest around the company. It regularly reviews all its strategic options in the interest of stakeholders and will inform the market if and when appropriate. So the fact that they didn't deny those reports of an acquisition basically, kind of confirms that they are at the very least considering it as an option. Now, will they go through with it? That remains to be seen. But, I mean, I have to kind of wonder if anybody else would maybe be interested in Ubisoft other than just Tencent. I mean, could we see any competition between other companies? Because the thing about Ubisoft is that I'd say that they're both attractive and then also unattractive at the same time. On one side, they have a massive workforce of nearly 20,000 employees, and that's a lot to take on for any company, especially because they'll need to dig them out of a hole that they put themselves in. But where Ubisoft is very enticing is when it comes to their IP. I mean, at the end of the day, IP is king, and they have a lot of popular franchises, whether that be Assassin's Creed, they have Prince of Persia, Rainbow Six, Rayman, Splinter Cell, Far Cry, and the list just kind of goes on and on and on. So I almost wonder if any other company will look at that as enough of a reason to jump in and throw their hat in the ring as well. Now, we also finally got an update for Red Dead Redemption on PC. I mean, we've seen the leaks, we've covered the rumors, and Rockstar finally unveiled that it is indeed a reality. I mean, honestly, I still can't believe that it took them this long. This was just money laying on the table for them. But here we are, and Red Dead Redemption and its Undead Nightmare expansion will be available for PC on October 29th. At that point, you'll then be able to pick it up on Steam, the Epic Games Store, and also on the Rockstar Store. So I'm very happy that they're not going to make this an exclusive to their own storefront. It feels like companies are becoming a little bit more privy to the fact that Steam is, yes, a very important platform. Ubisoft, Xbox, and EA also had to learn this the hard way. Steam is just very important for the PC platform, and I'd say maybe even more so now that they have their own hardware being the Steam Deck. I mean, sure, the Steam Deck can load other storefronts, but it's not necessarily as straightforward, and it's just easier and better to have games available on Steam. Again, though, Red Dead Redemption will be available on PC starting on October 29th. Now, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero will be out in a few days on October 11th, but for people who pre-ordered the Deluxe or Ultimate Edition are already playing it through its Advanced Access, which went live today. And, well, lo and behold, here, it already reached 91,000 peak players on Steam. Now, that could actually increase in the coming days, but that's already a fantastic start as is. I mean, just for comparison's sake here, the peak high for Dragon Ball FighterZ, which was a very successful game and widely viewed to be one of the best Dragon Ball games ever made, and its peak high was 44,000. So Sparking Zero has already doubled that, and it's technically not even fully available. So I'd say that kind of tells you a lot about Sparking Zero. Its launch is going to be massive for a Dragon Ball game. It's also reviewed very well with an 83 overall score on Metacritic, and even its Steam user review sits at 90%. So I mean, by all means, it's going to be a great month for Dragon Ball fans. Of course, we also have the Dragon Ball Daima anime to look forward to. I just wish that Akira Toriyama was here to celebrate all of this with us. Okay, so let's go and talk about PlayStation because they actually have two different things happening right now. So what we'll do here is that we'll first start off with the PlayStation 5 Pro and why it's becoming a little bit more attractive than what it was just 1 month ago. Now, I don't think this will necessarily be good news for everybody else in console gaming, which is sadly the majority in this case. So, this will be kind of disappointing from that perspective. But for those that are interested, the PlayStation 5 Pro is starting to look a little bit more enticing. Now, whether this is enough to justify its premium price tag, I'll leave that up to you. But we are starting to see base consoles, or in this case, the base PS5, struggle a little more when it comes to its performance. I mean, one of the big selling points for this generation was 60 frames per second. Yet here recently, the PlayStation 5 has missed that mark for 3 major games. One is for Space Marine 2, and now you can also add Silent Hill 2 and Metaphor ReFantazio to that list. All 3 of these games exhibit unstable frame rates on the base PlayStation 5 according to Digital Foundry. Now, I should mention for those that are curious that we don't have a lot of information about the Xbox version of ReFantazio, or at least currently. But I will say that the Xbox Series X does have better VRR technology than the PS5. So if you have a VRR-ready TV, then ReFantazio might not feel as unstable on the Xbox Series X version if it does have similar issues with its frame rate like we're seeing on the PS5. So if you're on the Xbox Series X and if you're wondering about its frame rate, maybe go ahead and keep that in mind. But for the time being, there is a beefy free demo that you can currently download, and you can kind of test up your setup there just to be safe. For PlayStation fans, however, the PS5's VRR ranges from 48 to 60 frames per second, and unfortunately for both Silent Hill 2 and for ReFantazio, they do both dip below 48 frames at times, which means that you will notice when they drop below that range. So this isn't exactly an ideal situation for anybody who cares about performance, which, according to Sony's very own statistics, 75% of their player base prefers to play on performance mode. So, I imagine that a lot of people will care about this situation, but that's kind of where the PS5 Pro comes in. Digital Foundry seems to think that the PS5 Pro could potentially fix this inconsistent performance problem. I mean, it's a very expensive way to fix them. That's definitely not ideal for consumers, but this is probably something that we're going to see a little bit more frequently as the generation continues for these base consoles. I have heard people frequently say that, there's no need for the PS5 Pro, but if you care about that stable 60 frames per second performance, all signs do kind of point to this being a more frequent problem as the generation progresses. I mean, Unreal Engine 5, as an example, has illustrated performance problems for a multitude of games on current hardware, and I do fully suspect that we will see more Unreal Engine 5 games in the next few years. So, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of a frustrating situation, to be completely honest. I wish developers would prioritize 60 frames per second on base consoles above all else. Yet, here we are, just 4 years into the generation, and it's becoming a bigger and more frequent issue. So let me know what you all think about all of this, and how do you feel about this generation and the performance that each console has given us? Have you been satisfied, and are you concerned that we could see more potential problems in the second half of the generation as we get more demanding games? Okay, now as for this other PlayStation topic, they just announced the shutdown of LittleBigPlanet 3 and all of its DLC. You can read their full statement here, which says, last chance to purchase LittleBigPlanet 3 for the PlayStation 4 and LittleBigPlanet DLC from the PlayStation Store. After 10 years of playing, creating, and sharing content in LittleBigPlanet 3, the game and our entire range of LittleBigPlanet DLC will be removed from the PlayStation Store on October 31st of 2024. Anyone that currently owns or purchases LittleBigPlanet 3 or any LittleBigPlanet DLC before it is delisted for sale will still be able to access their purchased games and content after its removal. And this is honestly just such a shame. And what I really don't understand about this situation is why they're removing LittleBigPlanet 3. They didn't really give us a reason, and the only thing that I can possibly think of here is maybe they'll re-release the entire trilogy as a package later on. I mean, they've been doing a lot of remasters, and I mean, I'm not even really sure if we needed remasters for Until Dawn or Horizon Zero Dawn, but yeah, here we are. So maybe they could do something like that for the LittleBigPlanet trilogy, which is kind of needed. I mean, Little Big Planet is easily one of Sony's most iconic franchises, and, it was a major part of their PlayStation 3 generation. I still remember when they first revealed the original game and just how charming it was. It really kicked off a new genre, play, create, and share. And that's one of the sad situations for the Little Big Planet community. It's not just that these games are being removed from digital purchases, but they also shut down their servers earlier this year as well, which means that you can no longer access their user-created content. And that's a big part of these games. Regardless of why they're doing this, though, I think this just once again proves why physical games are just so important. You can still easily find Little Big Planet 3 on the secondhand market, and, let me just kind of say it this way. You can go out and purchase a digital copy of Little Big Planet 3 right now, and then you can re-download it in the future if you want. But that version will be tied to your account specifically. But do you remember the days when PlayStation bragged about sharing physical games? That was a huge thing for the PlayStation 4. And that's kind of the situation here. If you have a physical library, you can easily share all of your games with your kids or whoever you want to with in the future. Physical keeps these games alive, and that's why you can still go back and play or share your games on retro consoles all these years later. Digital games might be more convenient, but I think we're definitely starting to see some of its drawbacks as well. This has been just one of many occurrences in just 2024 alone. Either which way, though, I hope this isn't the end for the 2D Little Big Planet games. If anything, I kind of hope this is a sign for maybe a remastered trilogy in the future. But for today, let's pour one out for Little Big Planet. Anyways, though, that's going to be it for this episode. But until next time, peace out.